Something has shifted in the disappearance of Lily and Jack Sullivan. For weeks, the case felt paralyzed. No arrests, no Amber Alert, no official suspects. But recently, subtle cracks have begun to form in the silence. New witness statements. A mother gone off the grid. And behind the scenes, pressure is building, from the public, from the media, from those who still believe someone knows exactly where those children are. Lily and Jack vanished from their trailer home in rural Nova Scotia. Not a single item was out of place. Their scent was traced to the end of the driveway, where it abruptly stopped, suggesting they were taken, not lost. 6 weeks later, their mother, Malia Brooks Murray, disappeared too, this time with her youngest child, Meadow. She hasn't been seen since. But this isn't a cold case. On the contrary, recent developments have forced even the quietest investigators to take notice. According to initial reports, the disappearance occurred early in the morning, sometime on May 2, 2025. The two children, Lily Sullivan, age 6, and Jack Sullivan, age 4, were reported missing from their home, a trailer located in a heavily wooded and secluded area near Jurlock Road, Lansdowne Station, Nova Scotia, Canada. The setting where the children lived has become a crucial element in the public's understanding of the case. The trailer itself was described as cluttered and disorganized, placed deep in a rural zone with no visible perimeter, no fence, and critically, no security cameras installed. The nearest neighbors were not within eyesight or earshot. The rear of the trailer featured a sliding glass door that was considered easily accessible, offering little to no protection from potential intrusions. Overall, the home was considered poorly equipped to ensure child safety. It lacked infrastructure, typically expected in environments where young children reside, such as secure locks, exterior lighting, or surveillance. The physical and logistical vulnerabilities of this location have raised questions about how the children could have vanished without triggering a single alarm, either from within the home or from anyone nearby. The absence of surveillance footage and the remoteness of the location have made it extremely difficult for investigators to trace movement in or out of the area. As of the most recent official update, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police have classified the situation as a missing persons case. There has been no public confirmation that the case has escalated into a criminal investigation. Authorities have not named any suspects. No charges have been filed, and crucially, no Amber Alert was ever issued. Within the home, investigators reported finding no physical evidence that would suggest where the children went or how. There were no signs of violence or forced exit, no blood, no hair, no pieces of clothing or broken items, no toys left behind in disarray, nothing to suggest a struggle. This absence of physical evidence inside or around the trailer has fueled widespread speculation, particularly because the natural terrain outside the trailer, thick brush, fallen trees, and rough landscape, would have made it difficult for children of that age to leave without leaving a trail. Yet, according to official reports, there were no visible footprints or clues in the surrounding environment to support the idea that Lily and Jack simply wandered off. What has intensified public scrutiny is the timeline and behavior of the children's mother, Malia Brooks Murray. Although she was present at the residence at the time of the disappearance and was the legal guardian of Lily, Jack, and their younger sibling Meadow, her actions in the weeks following the incident have become a major focus of public interest. On or around June 17 or 18, 2025, roughly 6 weeks after Lily and Jack were reported missing, Malia herself vanished. This time, she took Meadow with her. She was no longer residing at her mother's house and had ceased all communication with Daniel Martel, the man who was living with the family at the time of the disappearance. Additionally, she was no longer reachable by RCMP or CPS, Child Protection Services, cutting off all official lines of communication. Her departure did not appear spontaneous. Prior to vanishing, she returned to the trailer to retrieve specific items: birth certificates, school photos, and 2 stuffed animals belonging to Lily and Jack. This deliberate choice of belongings has led to growing public suspicion about whether Malia's actions were premeditated. Though no official charges have been brought against her, her disappearance with Meadow in the midst of an open investigation involving two already missing children has intensified concerns. At the moment, the case remains classified as missing, and no public suspects have been identified. Authorities have not disclosed whether any forensic breakthroughs have occurred. However, the disappearance of Malia and Meadow has added a complex new layer to an already mysterious case. For families, investigators, and the public, the question now extends far beyond how Lily and Jack disappeared. It now includes why their mother left, where she went, and what she might be hiding. Lily was the voice of the household, talkative, imaginative, and full of color, especially pink. She had a vibrant energy that often filled the cramped trailer with life. Her grandmother, Belinda Gray, called her "my little princess" and "dreamy girl," memories that now carry more weight than ever. One small detail always stood out to Belinda: a noticeable gap between her granddaughter's two front teeth. Just like her own, back when she was a little girl. It wasn't just a physical resemblance. It was a link across generations, a soft imprint of family that made Lily unforgettable. Her younger brother Jack was her quiet companion. Serious beyond his age, he rarely smiled, but when he did, Belinda recalled, lit up the whole room. He followed his sister almost everywhere, still in diapers, still wearing tiny shoes, still learning to speak the world in his own time. Where Lily led, Jack followed. He didn't act on impulse. He didn't stray. His rhythm was steadier, slower, defined by observation rather than action. He was often content to stand by and watch while Lily spoke for both of them. The two shared a bond that was more than just sibling closeness. It was almost symbiotic. They navigated the world together, with Lily's curiosity balanced by Jack's caution. It's this dynamic that makes the idea of them wandering off alone so implausible to those who knew them best. The forest around their trailer wasn't a place children could explore freely. It was dense, untamed, and unforgiving, full of fallen trees, thorny brush, and uneven terrain. Even an adult would struggle to walk through without leaving some kind of trace. According to family members, especially Belinda, it is unthinkable that the two would head into such a dangerous area by choice. Lily, for all her imagination, was cautious. She knew her boundaries. Jack, on the other hand, depended on her. He wasn't the kind of child to set off on his own, nor was he likely to push past comfort without his sister leading the way. And even then, the terrain would have pushed back. If they had gone into the woods, there should have been signs: crushed leaves, broken twigs, disturbed soil, at the very least small footprints. But there was nothing. That absence speaks volumes. No trail, no disturbance. No sense that two small children had passed through. Search teams and dogs covered the area thoroughly, and yet not a single clue suggested the children had ever left the property on foot. Their personalities, her outgoing but careful spirit, his quiet dependence, simply do not match the idea of children who wandered off into the wilderness. The conclusion, for many who knew them, is painfully clear. They didn't go alone, and they didn't go willingly. Their disappearance left not just an empty room, but a fracture in the hearts of those who knew the way they moved through life. Together, always. Malia Brooks Murray, also known as Malia, is the biological mother of Lily, Jack, and Meadow. She belongs to the Sapekneekitik First Nation, part of the Mi'kmaq community in Nova Scotia. In earlier years, those who knew her spoke of a woman who was caring and attentive, particularly in her role as a mother. According to Belinda Gray, Malia was once known for keeping a tidy home, maintaining cleanliness, and showing consistent affection toward her children. She was described as gentle, loving, and organized, traits that made her stand out in Belinda's memory. However, beneath that outward image, Malia's history reveals a more complex and possibly troubled background. Her previous relationship with Cody Sullivan, the biological father of Lily and Jack, lasted 5 years and was reportedly marked by fear and emotional instability. Although not much is publicly documented about the specific nature of their interactions, the relationship has been described by multiple sources as emotionally damaging It is believed to have left Malia with lasting psychological scars. Darwood O'Grady, a figure familiar with the family, has openly questioned whether Malia may have suffered from postpartum depression or was involved in ongoing family conflict. These unresolved personal struggles, according to him, could have contributed to the noticeable shift in her behavior leading up to and following the disappearance of her two older children. While no formal diagnosis has been released and no medical records have been made public, the speculation about her mental health continues to be part of the larger conversation surrounding this case. What stands out is the contrast between who Malia once appeared to be and the choices she later made. Most notably, her departure on or around June 17 or 18, 2025, with Meadow without informing family or cooperating with investigators. This action, combined with her sudden silence and detachment, has fueled ongoing concern about her state of mind and the possible connection between her psychological history and the fate of her children. In the weeks following the disappearance of Lily and Jack, the behavior of their mother, Malia Brooks Murray, became a central point of public concern and private suspicion. From her emotional responses, or lack thereof, to her actions and inconsistencies, observers began to question not only what she knew, but what role, if any, she may have played in the unfolding events. Belinda Gray, grandmother to Lily and Jack, described a moment shortly after the children went missing that left her deeply unsettled. Malia had been standing in the kitchen when someone asked how she was holding up. Her answer, according to Belinda, was a flat, expressionless, "Yeah, I'm okay." There was no visible emotion, no signs of panic, grief, or urgency. For Belinda, it was not just the words, but the tone that lingered. Malia didn't cry. She didn't appear distraught. She didn't ask questions about where the children could have gone. What followed only deepened the unease. Malia did not take part in any public efforts to find Lily and Jack. She did not organize or join search parties. She did not appear in front of cameras to plead for their return. Unlike many parents in similar situations, she made no outreach to the community, offered no timeline, and issued no statements. This silence stood in stark contrast to the usual emotional outpouring seen in high-profile missing persons cases. Her lack of public cooperation became one of the first major red flags for those closest to the case. One incident in particular raised suspicion among those who had been present. Sometime after the disappearance, Malia returned to the trailer. She didn't come to speak with law enforcement or search the area. Instead, she came to retrieve 3 specific items: the birth certificates of her children, school photographs, and 2 stuffed animals that had belonged to Lily and Jack. To Daniel Martell, who was living with the family at the time, this visit appeared calculated. It didn't feel like a grieving mother clinging to sentimental belongings. It felt like someone preparing to leave. On June 17 or 18, 2025, roughly 6 weeks after the children went missing, Malia disappeared along with her youngest child, Meadow. She was no longer residing at her mother Cindy's house and had cut off all communication with Daniel, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and Child Protection Services. Her sudden absence took everyone by surprise, especially given that Meadow was under a CPS monitored arrangement requiring 24/7 supervision. According to Daniel, this breach could have led to Meadow being removed from Malia's custody, which may have prompted her to flee. No official statement has been made by authorities regarding the enforcement of that protocol. But Daniel's concern highlighted another dimension of instability: the timeline of Malia's involvement on the morning of May 2, the day Lily and Jack went missing, has also been called into question. Several inconsistencies have emerged in her statements regarding when she first noticed the children were gone, when she informed Daniel, and the specific details of that morning's events. These discrepancies have not been publicly addressed by Malia herself, as she has not made any formal statement or participated in a public interview. Her silence has made it difficult to verify or reconcile the details she provided in the early stages of the investigation. Adding to the growing list of concerns are the allegations from multiple individuals connected to the case. Daniel, Logan, and Darwood, three people who were in close contact with the family, have each expressed suspicions that Malia knows more than she has revealed. They believe it is possible that she orchestrated the children's disappearance, either alone or with the help of others. Daniel, who was present in the home when the children were last seen, has voiced particular suspicion about Malia's return to the trailer to gather personal items. For him, this was not an act of grief. It was a sign of planning. Logan, another close acquaintance, suggested that Malia may have been emotionally manipulated or mentally vulnerable at the time, potentially making her susceptible to influence or persuasion. He did not accuse her directly, but stated that her behavior raised serious concerns. Darwood went further. He openly speculated that Malia had help in staging the disappearance, possibly from her own family. Specifically, he named Cindy, Malia's mother, as someone who might have played a supporting role, either knowingly or by providing a place to hide. No formal charges have been brought against Malia, Cindy, or any other family members. RCMP has not publicly identified any suspects. But the weight of multiple personal accusations, paired with Malia's withdrawal from contact, her collection of personal documents and belongings, and her disappearance with Meadow, has left many wondering whether her silence is a protective shield or a deliberate decision to stay hidden. The case remains open, and no arrest warrants have been issued. But for those still searching for Lily and Jack, the focus has shifted. It is no longer just about who took them, or how they vanished. It is now also about who helped cover it up, and why the people closest to them aren't talking. Daniel Robert Martel, 33 years old, is the former partner of Malia Brooks Murray, and the stepfather figure to Lily, Jack, and Meadow. For 3 years, he lived in a small trailer home, located in the remote woods near Jorlock Road, Landown Station, Nova Scotia, sharing the space with Malia, the 3 children, his own mother, and several pets including cats and dogs. Daniel became a central figure in the investigation following the disappearance of Lily and Jack on May 2, 2025. Though he had no legal custody over any of the children, Daniel considered Meadow to be his daughter and referred to her as such. He worked 1 day a week at a nearby sawmill, spending the majority of his time at home. This made him the adult most present in the household on a daily basis. The trailer, described by various accounts as cluttered and crowded, lacked basic security measures and was located in a wooded, isolated area with no neighbors in close proximity. On the morning of May 2, 2025, Daniel was the first person to realize Lily and Jack were missing.
3 days have been very stressful. I mean, ever since the Friday morning, when we noticed that the children were gone, immediately jumped in the vehicle, surveyed all the areas, many dirt roads, many culverts as I could, and waited for the police to get there.
According to his account, Lily entered his room wearing a pink shirt. He also reported hearing Jack in the kitchen shortly after. At some point, the trailer fell silent. This change in atmosphere led Daniel to investigate. He noted that the sliding glass door at the back of the trailer was closed, and the children's shoes were gone. There were no signs of struggle or forced entry. Alarmed, Daniel got into his vehicle and drove around the area, checking nearby roads, trails, and wooded paths. His efforts yielded no clues. It was Malia who made the 911 call at 10:06 a.m. that morning. From the outset of the investigation, Daniel took a cooperative stance with law enforcement. He voluntarily submitted to a polygraph examination, which he was reportedly told he passed. The polygraph session focused specifically on whether he had caused the death of either child. In addition to the polygraph, Daniel handed over his personal phone, allowed access to his Google location history, and provided investigators with his bank records and social media accounts. To date, he has not been named a suspect by the RCMP, nor have there been any formal accusations brought against him by authorities. However, Daniel's role and visibility increased significantly after Malia's disappearance with Meadow on June 17 or 18, 2025. On June 19, Daniel made a public appearance, though not through a traditional media outlet. Instead, he commented on a live YouTube broadcast using an account he had created back in 2012. The account, which included old Pokémon, Related videos became the unexpected platform for his emotional statements. In the comment section, Daniel expressed a mixture of anger, frustration, and fear, especially regarding the safety of Meadow. In his comments, he openly accused Malia of violating the CPS mandated 24/7 supervision protocol and claimed that she knew more than she had admitted about the disappearance of Lily and Jack. He also implicated members of Malia's family, most notably her mother, Cindy, as having knowledge of the situation and potentially helping to hide information from investigators. These were the first public accusations Daniel had made, and while his statements have not been confirmed by authorities, they marked a shift in tone and public posture from quiet cooperation to active confrontation. Among the more serious claims he made in that same YouTube thread was the assertion that RCMP had officially transitioned the case from a missing persons investigation to a criminal investigation. However, this statement has not been verified through any public RCMP release or statement. The police have remained consistent in their classification of the case as missing and have not confirmed any shift in status. The next day, on June 20, 2025, Daniel met with Child Protection Services in what was described by observers as a significant meeting. Details of that meeting have not been disclosed publicly. There has been no official comment from CPS regarding the nature or outcome of the conversation. Still, Daniel's behavior before and after the meeting, particularly his tone online, suggested heightened tension and a sense of urgency about Meadow's welfare and the direction of the case. Another point of contention raised by Daniel involves allegations against Malia's family. He claimed that 2 of his sweaters had been taken without his knowledge, and feared they could be used in an attempt to plant false evidence. He did not specify who he believed took the items, but he implied it was done with the intention of manipulating future investigations. This accusation has not been independently confirmed, nor has it been addressed by law enforcement in any public report. Daniel's position in the case is complex. He was the last adult known to have seen Lily and Jack before they vanished. He lived in the same household. He was, in practical terms, their daily caregiver. His presence, cooperation, and detailed account of the morning events have placed him at the center of both public interest and investigative focus. However, the evidence shared to date suggests that Daniel has consistently provided access to his data, answered questions, and remained in contact with law enforcement and social services. His public emergence on June 19 also marked a notable turning point in how the case was perceived. Up until that moment, there had been minimal direct engagement from anyone inside the household. With Malia gone, Daniel became the only remaining adult connected to the children willing to speak, even if that communication came through an old YouTube account and a scrolling comment section. In a case where silence has dominated much of the public narrative, Daniel's words, whether fueled by grief, fear, or frustration, offered rare insight into the emotional chaos inside the investigation. While the RCMP has not confirmed or denied the claims he made, his statements have amplified public questions about the integrity of the household, the possible involvement of family members, and the urgency of locating Meadow before the situation escalates further. For now, Daniel remains a key figure in the timeline, not officially accused, but deeply embedded in the story. His statements, actions, and ongoing cooperation may continue to shape the narrative as investigators work to unravel what happened on the morning of May 2, and why 2 children vanished without a trace. Cody Sullivan is the biological father of Lily and Jack. His relationship with Malia Brooks Murray ended in 2021, and since then, he had not seen his children for nearly 3 years. According to family accounts, this was not due to absence or neglect on his part, but rather the result of Malia holding full custody and cutting off communication. Cody had been living with his mother, Belinda Gray, for 9 months leading up to the children's disappearance. Despite online speculation and rumors suggesting he had fled west or had a criminal record, these claims were false. Cody has no known criminal history and had remained in Nova Scotia the entire time. After the disappearance of Lily and Jack on May 6, 2025, Cody came under immediate scrutiny. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police brought him in for questioning and subjected him to a 90-minute interrogation. According to accounts from his family, the line of questioning was emotionally difficult and, at times, seemingly unreasonable. He was asked questions about the children that he could not reasonably answer, such as what Lily's favorite color was, despite not having seen her since she was 3 years old. Eventually, RCMP informed him that he was no longer a suspect. No charges were filed, and no further legal action was taken against him. Throughout this process, Cody remained largely silent in public, a fact that drew criticism and suspicion from some observers. His absence from the media and public appeals led to speculation that he may have had something to hide. However, his mother, Belinda Gray, offered a firm defense of his character and circumstances. She explained that Cody had been intentionally kept away from his children by Malia, who refused to allow contact and did not respond to attempts at communication. Cody chose not to pursue legal action, reportedly in an effort to avoid conflict and keep the situation as peaceful as possible for the sake of the children. Belinda's explanation sheds light on what has been perceived by the public as Cody's disengagement. She maintained that her son's silence was not a sign of indifference, but rather the product of a long and painful estrangement that he had little control over. She emphasized that Cody had not abandoned his children, he had been pushed away. While the court of public opinion remains divided, Cody's official status in the investigation has been cleared. RCMP no longer consider him a person of interest, and his cooperation has been acknowledged by authorities. Cody's role in the broader narrative of the case remains quiet but significant. He represents a parental figure left out, not by choice, but by circumstance. His story, as told through Belinda, highlights the emotional complexity surrounding custody, estrangement, and public judgment. For some, his absence remains a point of discomfort. For others, it is a reminder that silence is not always a sign of guilt. Belinda Gray is the maternal grandmother of Lily and Jack, and the mother of Cody Sullivan. For weeks after the disappearance of her grandchildren, she remained silent along with the rest of Cody's family. But when public suspicion grew, fueled by the family's absence from media coverage and official statements, Belinda chose to speak. Her public interview broke the quiet walls surrounding Cody's side of the story, bringing with it a wave of emotion, pain, and pointed questions, especially about Malia Brooks Murray. In the interview, Belinda described the anguish of being shut out and the agony of not knowing where her grandchildren were. She expressed confusion and deep concern about Malia's behavior in the days following the disappearance. Once, she said, Malia had been a loving and attentive mother. But after May 2, something had changed. Belinda recalled a specific moment that troubled her. Malia stood in the kitchen, emotionless, and when asked how she was doing, responded with a flat, lifeless, "Yeah, I'm okay." That moment stayed with Belinda. Not just the words, but the absence of any feeling behind them. For her, it was not the response of a mother who had just lost 2 children. Belinda emphasized that Malia did not join search efforts. She did not rally the public. She did not plead for information. That silence, in Belinda's view, spoke volumes. It was the lack of action, not just the lack of words, that caused alarm. Her doubts about Malia's behavior were not based on rumor or speculation. They were rooted in first-hand observation. And as someone who had seen Malia with the children in the past, Belinda found the emotional shift jarring. Despite her own heartbreak, Belinda also became the target of official suspicion. She was questioned by the Royal Canadian Mounted Police for 2 hours. At the time, she was treated as a possible suspect, though no charges were filed. She described the experience as difficult, but cooperated fully with investigators. Her willingness to participate in the process, despite being placed under pressure, reflected a deep commitment to uncovering the truth. Belinda was also clear in her belief that Lily and Jack did not simply wander off. She pointed to both the physical terrain surrounding the trailer and the personalities of the children. The area was dense, rough, and full of obstacles, an unlikely place for two small children to explore on their own. Belinda said plainly, "If the kids were in those woods, we would have found them in 10 minutes." She did not believe they had run away, nor that they had gotten lost. Her conclusion was blunt. Someone did something to them. This belief, shared by others in the family, stood in direct contrast to any theories of accident or misadventure. For Belinda, the idea that two children could vanish without a trace from such a location was not just improbable. It was impossible without intervention. She felt certain that they were taken, and that someone close to the situation knew what had happened. One of the key points Belinda addressed in her public remarks was the initial silence of her own family. Many online commentators had questioned why Cody, or anyone related to him, had not made statements or appeared in the media. This silence, Belinda explained, was not by choice. It was the result of being shut out from the beginning. Malia had full custody. Communication had been cut off long before the disappearance. Cody had not seen the children since 2021, not because he did not want to, but because he was not allowed to. Belinda's interview helped shift some of the narrative. She provided context where there had been confusion, and she offered emotional honesty where there had previously been silence. Her words painted a picture not only of a grieving grandmother, but also of someone deeply frustrated by a system and a family dynamic that had pushed her out, and now, perhaps, held back the truth. Her voice, measured but resolute, brought clarity to the emotional core of the case. Belinda wasn't asking for sympathy. She was demanding answers. And in a story filled with gaps and contradictions, her account provided one of the few grounded perspectives rooted in both personal connection and lived experience. Logan is described as a close friend or relative of Daniel Robert Martel and has been involved in the case from its earliest days. His proximity to the family and early involvement positioned him as both a witness to the emotional aftermath and an outspoken voice regarding the dynamics within the household and the broader investigation. From the beginning, Logan expressed strong concern about the influence of Malia's mother, Cindy. He alleged that Cindy had manipulated Malia, leading to a sudden and unexplained change in her behavior. According to Logan, Malia initially felt safe with Daniel and maintained regular communication, but at a certain point, that contact was abruptly severed. Logan attributed this shift to Cindy's involvement, suggesting that she may have pressured or guided Malia into cutting ties and withdrawing from everyone connected to the investigation. In addition to emotional manipulation, Logan raised the possibility of more structured interference. He speculated that Malia may have received legal assistance or direct support from her family to facilitate her disappearance with Meadow. Though he did not provide formal evidence, his statements reflected a belief that Malia's vanishing was not spontaneous, but planned and assisted. Logan also voiced frustration with the system itself, particularly with how it treated Daniel. He criticized the way Daniel, despite full cooperation with authorities, had been restricted from seeing Meadow. In Logan's view, this restriction was both unfair and counterproductive, especially when compared to others who, despite avoiding contact with police and refusing cooperation, still maintained influence over the situation. His remarks highlighted the emotional toll of the investigation, not only on the direct parents, but on those around them who felt powerless in the face of institutional decisions. Darwood O'Grady is a close associate of Daniel Robert Martel and was present at the scene from the earliest days of the investigation into the disappearance of Lily and Jack. From the outset, he has been vocal about his suspicions and has not hesitated to share his interpretations of what may have occurred on the morning of May 2, 2025. Darwood has publicly stated that he is nearly certain Malia Brooks Murray orchestrated the disappearance of the two children. According to him, she placed Lily and Jack into a vehicle and staged the incident to appear as if they had vanished without explanation. He further claimed to know the specific car used and the identity of the driver, though no official details have been released to confirm or deny his assertions. His confidence in this version of events has made his voice one of the most direct and unfiltered among those close to the case. In trying to understand Malia's motivations, Darwood suggested that she may have been experiencing a psychological breakdown. He theorized that she was suffering from postpartum depression or was overwhelmed by unresolved family conflict. While he is not a medical professional, his observations echoed those of others who had noted a marked change in Malia's behavior leading up to and following the children's disappearance. Beyond Malia herself, Darwood has extended his accusations to her family, particularly her mother, Cindy. He believes that Cindy knows what happened to Lily and Jack and has chosen to conceal that information. In his view, the family's silence is not a sign of ignorance, but of complicity. He has raised the possibility that the entire event was coordinated, not just by Malia, but with the active support or passive enabling of those around her. One of Darwood's most specific and striking claims involves the suggestion that Malia may be hiding at the Sepeknetik First Nation Reserve. He pointed out that her lawyer has connections with leadership within that community, implying that those ties could be used to shield her from scrutiny or legal consequences. While this allegation has not been confirmed by authorities, it reflects Darwood's belief that Malia has access to a network of protection that goes beyond her immediate family. While Darwood's statements are personal in nature and not part of any formal police report, they have contributed to the broader narrative surrounding the case. His perspective, shaped by proximity to Daniel and first-hand involvement in the search and aftermath, reflects a deep frustration with what he sees as manipulation, obstruction, and official inaction. For Darwood, the disappearance of Lily and Jack was not an accident or a mystery. It was an event with intention, people behind it, and answers still deliberately withheld. Cindy, the mother of Malia Brooks Murray, has become a figure of increasing interest in the case surrounding the disappearance of Lily and Jack Sullivan. While she has not made any public statements or been named by law enforcement as a suspect, multiple individuals closely connected to the investigation, namely Daniel Martell, Logan, and Darwood O'Grady, have pointed to her as a possible key figure operating behind the scenes. According to their accounts, Cindy maintained significant influence over Malia, particularly in the weeks following the disappearance. They allege that Cindy deliberately limited Malia's communication with outsiders, including members of the media and individuals who had previously been part of her support network. This perceived control has led to suspicions that Cindy played a role in guiding or pressuring Malia into cutting ties and withdrawing from the investigation. These suspicions intensified when reporters who attempted to visit Cindy's home were turned away without comment. The refusal to engage with the press was interpreted by some as an effort to shield Malia and suppress information. While not illegal, this silence has raised questions about what Cindy may know and why she has remained out of the public eye. Darwood, in particular, has alleged that Cindy is aware of the truth behind Lily and Jack's disappearance, but has chosen to remain silent in order to protect her daughter. He further suggested that Cindy may be actively helping Malia avoid law enforcement. This includes the possibility that she has provided logistical support, potentially through legal connections or through individuals in the Sepeknetik First Nation community, where Malia has familial and cultural ties. Though no formal charges have been brought against Cindy, and no official evidence has been released linking her to any obstruction, the continued focus on her role highlights the growing tension between public suspicion and investigative discretion. Janie, the stepmother of Daniel Robert Martell, is considered by some to be a potentially key witness in the timeline of events on the morning of May 2, 2025. According to Darwood O'Grady, Janie arrived at the trailer shortly after Lily and Jack were believed to have been taken. Her timing and observations that morning have led to speculation that she may have seen something critical, perhaps without fully realizing it at the time. As reported by Darwood, Janie saw Malia Brooks Murray standing by the roadside, visibly uneasy and fumbling with her phone. He described Malia as appearing confused or anxious, as if she had just done something significant. While Janie has not spoken publicly about the encounter, and no formal statement from her has been released, Darwood's account positions her as one of the few individuals who may have seen Malia during a narrow and critical window of time. If verified, this sighting could place Malia outside the home at a key moment, potentially aligning with theories that the children were removed from the property by vehicle. Whether Janie's presence confirms, complicates, or challenges that timeline remains unclear, but her proximity to the event has led some to view her as an important yet largely silent piece of the broader puzzle. In a case marked by silences and speculation, a few confirmed events stand out as anchor points in the investigation. These are the moments that form the spine of the official timeline. Verifiable, documented, and central to what little is known for certain about what happened to Lily and Jack Sullivan. While theories and suspicions continue to circulate, it is these concrete developments that investigators have returned to again and again in their search for answers. On May 1, 2025, the day before the children were reported missing, Lily, Jack, Meadow, and woman Paz believed to be Malia herself were reportedly seen at Highland Square Mall. Surveillance footage captured their presence, marking the last confirmed sighting of the children by an outside source. The video was handed over to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, but has not been made public. To date, it remains the final known visual confirmation that Lily and Jack were alive and in public prior to their disappearance. 2 days later, on May 3, the RCMP escalated their efforts. A formal search operation was launched with multiple resources deployed across the area. This included tracking dogs, drones, low-flying aircraft, and personnel from the Civil Air Search and Rescue Association. Despite these efforts, no physical evidence was discovered. There were no signs of discarded clothing, shoes, toys, blood, hair, or DNA. The tracking dogs followed a scent trail leading down the driveway, but stopped abruptly at the roadside, leading investigators to believe the children may have been placed in a vehicle and driven away. Based on these findings and the total absence of clues, the RCMP upgraded the case from a standard missing persons report to a full criminal investigation. The trailer was formally sealed, and a full forensic team was brought in, including homicide detectives and data analysis experts. From May 4 to May 6, the search extended to surrounding waterways. Divers were dispatched to nearby rivers and streams in an attempt to locate any evidence that might have been discarded or washed away. Again, nothing was found. During this same period, RCMP reviewed traffic surveillance footage from within an 8-kilometer radius around the trailer. The contents of those recordings have not been publicly released, and it remains unclear whether they revealed any useful information. Nonetheless, the intensity of the effort signaled how seriously authorities were treating the case, even as concrete leads remained elusive. Throughout May and June, investigators turned their focus toward the people closest to the children. Cody Sullivan, the biological father of Lily and Jack, was brought in for questioning. Belinda Gray, Cody's mother and the children's paternal grandmother, was also questioned. Her session with RCMP lasted 2 hours. Although she was initially treated as a person of interest, she cooperated fully and was not charged. Others close to the family, including Daniel Martel, the children's stepfather figure, also participated in interviews. According to available reports, he passed the polygraph and continued to assist investigators without hesitation. Meanwhile, Malia's behavior stood in stark contrast. As May turned into June, she became increasingly withdrawn. She did not take part in public searches. She made no statements to the media. She issued no pleas for help. When asked by family how she was feeling, she responded in a flat tone, "Yeah, I'm okay." Her demeanor was described as emotionless, even hollow. This detachment, combined with her refusal to engage, became a focal point of concern for those around her, and later, for investigators as well. Taken together, these key developments form a troubling narrative. The last verified sighting of the children was on May 1. On May 2, they were gone. By May 3, a full criminal investigation was underway. In the weeks that followed, those closest to the children were questioned, some repeatedly. Evidence was pursued from land, air, and water, yet none of it led to Lily or Jack. Throughout it all, the person who once had custody of all three children, Malia, remained quiet, distanced, and increasingly difficult to reach. While these milestones offer structure to the timeline, they do not explain the disappearance. The lack of physical evidence, the sudden silence of key individuals, and the absence of any known suspects continue to frustrate both investigators and the public. And with each passing week, the weight of these unanswered questions grows heavier. Even as the investigation gained national attention and involved multiple agencies, several contradictions have continued to cloud the case. These inconsistencies, spanning from the physical environment to institutional responses, have raised serious questions about both the circumstances of the disappearance and the way the search has been handled. One of the most persistent points of tension is the nature of the wooded area surrounding the trailer. Belinda Gray, grandmother to Lily and Jack, has repeatedly emphasized that the terrain was thick, overgrown, and difficult for adults to navigate, let alone two small children. The idea that Lily, age 6, and Jack, age 4, could travel undetected through dense brush and uneven ground without leaving a trace does not align with what those familiar with the area believe. This belief is further supported by the tracking dogs used by RCMP, who followed the children's scent only as far as the end of the driveway. The trail stopped abruptly, strengthening the theory that they were picked up by a vehicle. Equally troubling to many observers has been the communication strategy employed by law enforcement. The RCMP has maintained an unusually low public profile throughout the investigation. No regular press briefings have been held. Instead, occasional short statements have been distributed via email. Key developments, such as the surveillance footage from Highland Square Mall or the results of Daniel Martel's polygraph, have not been publicly confirmed or denied. RCMP has also declined to address or rebut public accusations made by Daniel, including claims that the case had shifted to a criminal investigation. Perhaps most controversially, no Amber Alert was issued at any stage of the case, a decision that has sparked widespread frustration and debate. In addition to the perceived silence from police, advocacy organizations that typically respond to missing children cases have also remained noticeably absent. Groups like Child Find Nova Scotia and Kids Help Phone have not issued public appeals, organized outreach, or held events connected to the disappearance. For families and supporters of the children, this lack of public involvement has added to the sense of abandonment. In a case where time and visibility are critical, the absence of these voices has been both puzzling and deeply disappointing. While no official conclusions have been drawn, several primary hypotheses have emerged from those closest to the situation. Each attempts to explain how two young children could disappear without a trace, and why so many questions remain unanswered. This theory is strongly supported by Daniel Martel, Logan, and Darwood O'Grady. They believe that Malia Brooks, Murray intentionally removed Lily and Jack from the home and staged the disappearance to appear as if the children had gone missing. The suggested motive centers around fear of losing custody, particularly to child protection services. All three point to a pattern of withdrawal and secrecy in Malia's behavior, as well as to specific actions she took following the children's disappearance. Notably, she returned to the trailer to collect the children's birth certificates, school photographs, and 2 stuffed animals, items that could be needed in preparation for relocation. Supporters of this theory also suggest that Malia may have received assistance from family members or even individuals within the Sepeknetik First Nation community, where she had both cultural and legal ties. While there is no direct evidence proving this theory, those who believe it see the total lack of physical clues as a sign of planning rather than chance. Belinda Gray, the children's grandmother, has repeatedly expressed her belief that someone harmed Lily and Jack. Her conviction is rooted in the physical realities of the environment and the emotional behavior of those involved. The forest surrounding the trailer was too dense and hazardous for children to enter alone, she argues, and the complete absence of signs. No footprints, no torn clothing, no signs of panic, suggests that the children did not leave on their own. In addition, Belinda found Malia's reaction deeply troubling. The flat effect, lack of participation in search efforts, and emotional detachment did not reflect the behavior of a mother in distress. Daniel has echoed this sentiment in public comments, hinting that Malia knows more than she has admitted. Though the nature of that knowledge remains unclear, the implication is serious, that something irreversible may have happened, and that someone is concealing it. A third possibility considers Malia's mental and emotional state at the time of the disappearance. Some close to the situation, including Darwood, have speculated that Malia may have been suffering from postpartum depression, emotional trauma from past abuse, or intense anxiety stemming from potential CPS involvement. If true, this could explain a decision made in panic rather than with criminal intent. Perhaps, in a moment of fear, she removed the children to avoid losing them permanently. However, those who once considered this possibility have grown more skeptical over time. Malia's refusal to participate in the investigation, her failure to engage with CPS or police, and her disappearance with Meadow have all cast doubt on the idea that her actions were purely driven by fear. If this were the case, some expected her to eventually seek help or clarification. Instead, she vanished, deepening the suspicion surrounding her role. Together, these three theories represent the emotional, logistical, and legal uncertainty surrounding the case. None have been confirmed. All remain possible. And each reflects the desperation of those still waiting for answers. In a case defined by what's missing, these hypotheses are all that remain. When examining the disappearance of Lily and Jack Sullivan, many have drawn parallels to one of the most infamous missing children cases in modern history, the disappearance of Madeleine McCann. Both cases involve the sudden vanishing of young children from seemingly safe environments, without witnesses, forensic evidence, or clear signs of struggle. Lily and Jack went missing from their family's rural trailer home in Nova Scotia, while Madeleine disappeared from a holiday apartment in Praia da Luz, Portugal. In both instances, scrutiny quickly turned toward the adults closest to the children. Malia Brooks Murray, mother of Lily and Jack, was widely criticized for her emotionally detached behavior and eventual disappearance with her youngest child, Meadow. Similarly, Kate and Jerry McCann faced intense public judgment for having left their daughter unattended while dining nearby. The official responses in both cases were marked by early delays and institutional shortcomings. In Portugal, local police were accused of mishandling the initial investigation, failing to secure the crime scene, and overlooking key evidence. In Canada, the RCMP faced backlash for not issuing an Amber Alert, withholding surveillance footage, and offering minimal public updates. In both cases, the lack of transparency and urgency allowed speculation and mistrust to grow. Mainstream media engagement also followed a similar trajectory. The Madeleine McCann case received limited attention in its first days, only gaining global traction after the family initiated a widespread awareness campaign. The Sullivan case has seen minimal coverage in established media outlets, with most of the discussion driven by live streams and independent online commentators. However, a significant contrast lies in the scale and reach of the investigations. Madeleine's case spurred international cooperation, with British, Portuguese, and German authorities all contributing to the investigation. Nearly 2 decades later, German police have identified a formal suspect, Christian Bruckner, a convicted sex offender, although no charges have been filed. In contrast, the Sullivan case remains confined within Nova Scotia. No suspects have been named, no arrests made, and no one has been publicly charged or cleared. While speculation surrounds Malia and her family, including allegations of concealment or flight, these remain unproven. Ultimately, the McCann case underscores how media pressure, international collaboration, and persistent family advocacy can keep a case alive, even decades later. The Sullivan case, by comparison, appears dangerously close to stalling, without consistent public updates, confirmed suspects, or the involvement of global investigative bodies. Still, both cases emphasize a crucial reality. When it comes to missing children, the earliest hours are vital. Delays, whether in alert systems, press engagement, or forensic processing, can close doors that may never reopen. The differences in outcomes so far are stark. Madeleine is still missing, but her case remains active on the global stage. Lily and Jack have seemingly faded into silence. The lessons from one may yet help inform justice in the other, if they are acted upon in time. As of July 10, 2025, the disappearance of Lily and Jack Sullivan remains officially classified as a missing persons case. Despite extensive public interest and widespread media coverage, no formal declaration has been made to confirm that the children are deceased. Daniel Martel has publicly claimed that the RCMP has reclassified the matter as a criminal investigation, but this has not been officially confirmed. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police has continued to refer to the case as missing, and no charges have been filed. The whereabouts of Malia Brooks Murray remain unknown. She has not been seen since June 17 or 18, when she disappeared with her youngest child, Meadow. It is unclear whether she is actively hiding or whether Child Protection Services has since intervened and taken custody of Meadow. Malia has not contacted law enforcement, CPS, or family members from either side. Her prolonged absence and lack of communication continue to raise concerns and reinforce speculation that she may be intentionally evading authorities. The RCMP maintains that the investigation is ongoing. Authorities have reviewed traffic surveillance footage, including material collected in the days immediately following the children's disappearance. However, transparency has been limited. The surveillance video from Highland Square Mall has not been released, nor have officials issued any clarification about key forensic findings, polygraph results, or the possibility of suspects. Most notably, no Amber Alert was ever issued, one of the most frequently criticized aspects of the case. Public response has remained active and emotionally charged. Online live streams and social media discussions continue to bring attention to the case, often placing pressure on the RCMP to provide more information. At the same time, these platforms have also contributed to the spread of misinformation and unfounded theories. For many in the public, the lack of regular updates and official communication has been a source of frustration and distrust. Within the family, dynamics remain sharply divided. Cody Sullivan and his relatives have cooperated with investigators and spoken publicly about the case. In contrast, members of Malia's family have maintained silence. This difference in behavior has fueled ongoing suspicion that certain individuals may be withholding information or attempting to shield Malia from scrutiny. More than 2 months after Lily and Jack were last seen, the core facts of the case remain unresolved. The legal status has not changed. The leads remain unclear, and the questions, where are the children, and who knows the truth, are still without answers. Despite weeks of investigation, media attention, and mounting public pressure, the core questions of the case remain painfully unanswered. At the center is the most urgent mystery. Where are Lily and Jack Sullivan? Are they still alive? Were they hidden away to avoid CPS intervention? Or did something irreversible happen on the morning of May 2? Where is Malia Brooks Murray? Her sudden disappearance with Meadow on June 17 or 18 has deepened suspicions. Was she fleeing out of fear, evading consequences, or being protected? Her silence leaves a crucial gap in understanding the full story. The role of Malia's family, particularly Cindy, continues to raise concern. Do they know what happened to the children? Have they been involved in shielding Malia or obstructing the investigation? Public frustration has also turned toward law enforcement. Why has the RCMP remained so opaque? Why was no Amber Alert issued? Why has critical surveillance footage not been released? The lack of transparency has not only undermined public trust, but may also have slowed potential leads. Finally, Questions remain about child protection services. Meadow was reportedly under CPS supervision, yet Malia was able to disappear with her. What protocols failed, and what oversight, if any, has been exercised since? Until these questions are addressed, the case of Lily and Jack remains not just unsolved, but suspended in uncertainty. The disappearance of Lily and Jack Sullivan is a heartbreaking mystery, one that lays bare the emotional trauma, institutional shortcomings, and persistent lack of transparency surrounding missing children cases. At the center stands Malia Brooks Murray, whose emotionally detached behavior and eventual disappearance with her youngest child, Meadow, have made her the subject of public suspicion. Yet without concrete evidence, no criminal charges have been filed. Her silence, however unsettling, remains legally impenetrable. The case has stirred growing concern not only because of the children's vanishing, but because of what it reveals: a system that failed to act decisively when urgency was needed most. The gaps are clear: no Amber Alert, no consistent updates, and no access to key evidence like surveillance footage. And while public pressure has mounted through social media and community-led discussions, official channels have remained guarded, hesitant, and slow to respond. For many, this recalls the early days of the Madeleine McCann case, where investigative missteps and delays may have cost valuable time. Yet Madeleine's case also showed what persistence, media engagement, and international coordination could accomplish. Even years later, that same urgency is now needed for Lily and Jack, because unlike theories and suspects, time is not abstract. It is measurable, and it has been slipping away, until more information comes to light. The fate of Lily and Jack remains uncertain. Are they hidden, or gone forever? Are they waiting to be found, or already lost? These questions continue to hang in the air, not just for their family, but for a community desperate for truth. And until those answers come, their absence remains an open wound.